I'm very, very happy to meet all of you at the Watchman in Conversation podcast. Today, we have really extremely progressive cast. We've got Jenny Miller, and she's a founder of an extremely progressive opera house in London, which is just amazingly successful, though it is so progressive. We've got Piet-Jan van Rossum, a Dutch composer who is as progressive, very much into philosophy, humanism, religion, and despite all that, he is extremely a lively person and makes really a fun feeling of thinking of the classical music. And we've got Ivan Schiller, who is a pianist, teacher, educator, founder of the academy. I never saw and heard any pianist which is that progressive, and still he plays amazing. So everyone, welcome to me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to meet you. And we've got today the theme of education, the relevance of the education, the art, the music, and the contemporary art and the contemporary composers which are alive. I would love to start with Jenny. Jenny, you founded an opera company in London, which is extremely different in a way, and you made it successful. What happened? How did you make it?
Well, it's been a very long, slow process, and I'm not quite sure how you measure success, but we are continually working, and we find people to work with, and that's how we go on. So I'm not sure about the success bit in a way, but we're certainly very involved in education in all levels. So we just we had commissioned a New Zealand composer dash double bass player to create a children's opera, for instance, which we've been touring in schools. So we are looking for primary school kids to discover opera and discover the joy of singing and the joy of creating a story through singing, and to change perhaps any concept they might have about what opera is, just by actually doing it and experiencing it in a live and a new way with newly composed music.
Where did you start your journey? So you've been singing in great big opera houses, and then something happened, and you said, "I need to change it somehow." I had this.
Well, I suppose we all experience as artists some sense of not getting what we want. I don't mean materially, but in terms of our artistic expression, that struggle is part of the artistic experience, I'm sure. And we're all searching for that, the way that we really wanted to play that phrase, or the way we really wanted to tell that story in music and so on. And it happened that my mother was a dancer, and I always felt like the dancer in me was fighting with the classical trained singer. And how did that meet, and where did that meet? And also, I'd been very keen on theater as a child as well. So my journey has been to try and understand more clearly how the discipline of classical music training can be connected immediately and directly to my technical work to my work as an expressive, dramatic, moving artist, physically moving, I mean.
Right, and then you developed this new shape, going into schools, going into different places.
Yes, well, in fact, first we worked with young singers, and then gradually they were training, and then gradually we started working with professional young singers, and then we started working with children and with community, and it just kind of went out from there.
And what is your feeling now? Are you happy with how it grew?
Actually, I've never achieved what I really want to achieve. I really admire the discipline and the style of the theater troops that work together all the time. For example, complicité, theater of the complicity, as we say over here. For example, or I'm a big fan of the Pina Bausch dance theater. Big fan. And, i.e., where there's a kind of a sort of ethos that's holding the company in their progress. So you're not just randomly doing this thing, randomly do it, but you're actually trying to create a body of work that has a thematic connectivity somehow in the way you present it. And I've never managed to do that because that requires loads more money than I've got.
Right, amazing. Eva, now coming to you, you have this combination between extremely dedicated pianist. You are a real next one after Brendel to me. So we take Brendel, who passed away sadly, and but he left a huge legacy. And if someone say, okay, and who is Brendel today? I would say Ivan Schiller is really. He brings this virtuosity, with intellectual virtuosity every time on stage. That modest and still very exciting. So please tell us where did you start, and what made you, through your virtuosity abilities to be really, soloist, what made you teach, what made you into this education field and things which are quite progressive.
In fact, when I was teenager, I was thinking that maybe I will not become pianist, but I will become teacher, because I started quite late with my piano. In fact, well, I played since I was 6, but I started to really practice since I was, I don't know, 15, 16. So I really didn't enjoy. I wanted to be, basically, I wanted to be a hockey player. But then I got very good teacher, which is my friend still. We are still very close friends. It's Milica Kajlingova in Slovakia, and she brought me to the music. I started to laugh because I started to play chamber music and with the singers, also with the piano duet and so on. And I could also play what I really liked. So somehow I started to think, okay, maybe I should do something with the music. But I since I was 17, I started to do, little workshops for kids, and because it was always connected with me. When I fall in love with some music, I immediately wanted to also talk with the other people, like how fantastically it is, like when I discover Bach, or when I discover Eric Satie, or when I discovered Scriabin. I mean, when I all the time started to do workshops and some lectures or some masterclass for kids or for young pianists and so on. I feel very happy because in my life is a passion. Is like what I could do more for music, which I really like. So that's I feel very much connected to education.
And this balance between, pianism poor and the teaching projects, how do you maintain that?
Yeah, it's always finding a balance. I was teaching kids for 15 years. Then I went to Faculty of Education, so I stopped teaching kids and I started to teach adults. And last 8 years I was only doing my projects. So I was doing workshops and master classes, but not regularly teaching. And now I'm back at the faculty because we are doing really huge change at the faculty, and so it's always in and out on a regular or unregular teaching. But last week I was in a small city in Slovakia with my friend when we did 2 days courses for teachers of music. I was really enthusiastic because traditionally trained piano teachers from small region, but we did Morton Feldman with them, or Georgi Kurtag, and they played wonderfully. I mean, they enjoyed it, and they were composing their little pieces for piano, and which we motivate them, like, imagine your student and compose a piece with the non-traditional techniques of piano. And it was so big pleasure for me to see like how open they are. So yeah, we do a lot of that also.
Yeah, we hear, to fall in love with Schubert and Mozart, and bring it over to the audience or to kids or to students. It's one mission. And fall in love with a contemporary piece, Kurtak, Ligeti, Piet-Jan, yes, with you, and then to build a bridge to the larger audience. It is, another discipline. So Piet-Jan, you see, we've got here two musicians and pioneers with sharing their love for music with audience, with students. You're a composer. What do you feel about all this excitement of sharing the love to music?
Oh, that's a big question. Well, first let me talk about kids, because I made a theater performance for kids.
What was it? What has it been? Just for us to know the title?
It's well, actually, it's just called Bach.
Yes.
It was because it was about Johann Sebastian Bach, and I used parts of his music, and with a Belgian company called Zonzo,
Great.
and that was quite modern because I used tapes also, and it was two violinists and Baroque violinists and tape. Well, I think that toured through Europe. It must have been played about 200 times. And then it went to China, and there it was played like 80 times, and even won a prize there. It's my only prize in my life for best music in China. And so that's funny. So these kids, they really, I think that they up to a certain age, they're really so open yet. Still, I mean, still so open, and just open to everything that's interesting and good.
Yeah.
And they'll catch they'll immediately catch up and go along with you. When they get a bit older, they get of course we call it puber in Holland. I don't know the English word, but
Adolescence.
adolescents, they get a bit like "Ooh," whatever. But before that, it's great. So this show was a big success. Then on the other hand, if you're talking about education, nowadays, um, I have the feeling I'm very very much standing where Ivan and Jenny are standing, but I think it's much broader. I tend to think we're living in a time where almost everyone needs to be in some way educated. Educated, yeah, that sounds a bit. It sounds a bit arrogant. I don't want to be that arrogant, but you see, there's such a big lack also among grown-ups, a lack for they they're looking for silence, for inner peace. They're looking for all kinds of things they can't find in this society, this hyper-capitalism society, and we are the ones who can bring this to them. And we are the ones who can, if you have a good sense for what this time needs, that's what I'm always searching for. What what's needed now at this moment, 2025? I I have a piece in the Concertgebouw. What do I want this audience to hear, to open up their to their inner core?
Yeah, yeah. That is a
And
point what I would like to ask Ginny, just exactly where you are.
yeah,
Ginny, you have a company. Piet-Jan has a piece. Just on your experience, how difficult or easy is it to bring this sort of project into the life, to get it, to get the funds, to get the people, to get everything done, to make this sort of shows with the contemporary music played and loved, not in China, but in London and all over in Europe? What would you say?
mm,
Well, I'm guessing that Piet-Jan at the Concertgebouw has been given a commission to write his piece.
yeah,
Yeah. And that's the first thing you have to do is find out how you're going to, if you want to commission someone, how you can fund it. And here in England, generally, most companies like mine would go to the Arts Council.
Mhm.
And then you have to justify, funnily enough, you kind of have to, within their terms, ask the questions Piet-Jan is asking. You have to say, well, why do we want to do this? Why do we want your money to ask this person to commission this project? Because we're going to do this and that and the other thing, and it's going to be very good for people. It's going to be educational on some profound level, and you have to justify the funding to the Arts Council. And of course, there are great debates about whether the Arts Council's terms are, correct or broad enough or too broad. That's another matter. But that is the process.
Is it rather hard to do, and is it much easier to stage something what is already composed and out of copyright, or it is manageable to bring this sort of work? What do you say?
It kind of depends, because there are funding sources that would only fund a new work.
Right.
Yeah. So I would say it's hard for anything because money is tight, but it's not necessarily harder. It's a different, yeah.
What do you think what could be possibly done to motivate more people larger to be keen to pay for this sort of projects, even though that a company like yours can be more relaxed in choosing
Oh, never relaxed. Never relaxed. Well, I mean, it's an interesting question you're asking there, because probably we should all do more. And I think one of the things we can do is just talk to people.
That's why we're here.
That's why we're here. So, that's a good start. Actually just talking to people and getting people to say, oh, no, wait a minute, that does matter. I do think I should contribute somehow. I do think I should get involved in this. Next week, I have a composer coming who wants to do a project in our area. And she's bringing with her the chair of her company. And actually, without kind of almost thinking about it, I invited someone I knew, who I realized after I invited her to meet them after our meeting and have a drink together. And it really wasn't networking. It was literally, I thought, well, they'd probably get on with her, and I haven't seen her. And then I thought, wait a minute, she probably would love to know about this project. We should probably tell her about the project, and maybe she'll want to be involved. Now that was it wasn't me being cunningly networking. It was literally just thinking, let's get people together, and probably in that very natural way, if we talk more to people, just as you're doing with us, Hana, we'll probably be able to find more opportunities to.
That's the point of the conversation, of this conversation. What I saw by the featuring Ivan, we've got the Teachers Association, which is supporting his work, which is making this education projects and funds a lot. And also, all this work, I would like to mention this podcast and this work with all of you is sponsored and paid by this association, right, Ivan?
Yes.
Yes, so in the Republic of Slovakia, we have that done. Unbelievable, but it's true. They do amazing. So for all of us, they made it, Ivan, please tell us, how does it work in your corner? Amazing to know.
I
Everybody
think
wants
I
to know
think
that.
no, I think Jenny said it very right. It's all the time like talking about what we are doing. So that's one way. What we have very good experience is that even people from the businesses or from non-artistic environment, they really like when they are part of concert or part of workshop. I mean, the most difficult task is to bring them there. But once they are there and they hear good music, or they have good workshops built for them, for example, then we are there. But this is the most difficult, because everybody is busy and not having time. But we do it quite often, and we try to do it as much as possible, because I believe that the music needs to be experienced on your body, on your, you need to be active, not passive, not and that's big advantage of music, and theater and all the art, which is to activate the people so they can be active participants. And I mean, each company or theater or NGO finds their own way how to do it, because it's like Jenny said, it's about the people you have and your team. It depends. Each year maybe somebody else comes in and some new idea, but the general mission has to be clear, I will say.
So in that case, it is possible to motivate people all over to pay for contemporary classical art and the education. Let's imagine that Netflix or Amazon Prime costs something like 20 pounds per month. So, and basically everyone is able to afford that. And if, 8 billion people would pay the half, like $10 per month for art and education, I guess the education and the art is going to be in a different place, right? So I would like to ask Ivan and Piet-Jan, you work together on many pieces, and we've got a review of very short mass, and the mass is it actually spiritually religious connected, or is just a mass independent one? Tell please about that piece and how you work together on it.
Pete, you go to tell about the piece.
Yeah, but connected, you mean connected to the education?
No, I just would like to know, how have you educated Ivan to play that piece?
Ah, well, this piece was a special thing because it's my third piano concerto, and it was every composer now has a Corona piece,
Yeah,
a COVID piece, a piece
yeah,
they wrote in isolation at home
yeah.
to put all their frustration into it somehow, and frustration and whatever, and which doesn't mean it's a frustrated piece, but I needed to have a piece. I returned to it every day. I worked on it every day. It was Ivan asked me to. I think you asked me already some time ago for the piece.
Yeah.
This was the moment I decided. Okay, let's make it, and this helped me through the COVID time. So it's my COVID piece, but I don't know if that's so interesting. But and then I think it's mostly what's very very comforting for a composer is if you know the player. So Ivan had played 2 pieces by me already,
Yeah.
and I know about his touch and how sensitive he can play, and also how trustable he is with if I write the hard chords and whatever he wants to do 10,000 mistakes like some other pianist. So I could really write for him, and I could feel safe, and I know you, so that's really comforting. And actually, that's all there is to say to it, because I wrote it, I sent it to you, and you played it, and it was still something going on that I couldn't even visit the premiere. But I think that was my cat being ill.
Right.
That was my cat. I had to take care of my cat. Yeah.
Oh, that's it. Well, we will have the review on the Watchman next time and the entire months ahead. Jenny, as a singer, what is your most funny experience working with a contemporary composer which is alive?
I worked with an ensemble, and I came into the ensemble, they'd already learnt this piece, and I was stepping in, as someone had left the group. And I'm trying to remember who the composer is. It's a German composer. And it had lots of sounds, spoken words, very rhythmic. And we came to one part of the score, and they were all going, "Gah, pa," and then we went on like this. And then, at some point, someone said, "Doesn't that mean general pause?" That was good. It actually had been performed apparently with this gumpa in it.
So funny. Yeah. And as
There's
the,
another one. There's another one where that we practice this fantastically difficult piece. So difficult, so difficult. I'm sorry, I'm blanking on these composers. This is a French composer, and we showed up in Paris to do it, and this other group had done it before, and we were asking, well, how did you, what, give us some clues. How did you work this? This particular ensemble didn't use a conductor. And we performed physically, so it was made it even harder, you know. And they said, oh, we just said, you know, rendezvous here, rendezvous here, rendezvous.
That sounds like a particular kind of modern music. Yeah.
Very hard. It was
Yeah.
so hard. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
it's not that easy to educate people with these challenges, right? The most important thing is to meet the rendezvous. So, you know,
Exactly.
to meet
Right.
at the end at the right place, not going before the
Yes,
other
I
one.
guess we all have these kind of stories. I once worked with Francis Marie Uitti, the cello player, and performing a piece by, let's mention his name, Brian Fernyhough.
Oh yeah.
And so for cello and electronics, I was doing the electronics. And I had the score, and like the cello part was already on 6 staves or something. And I was like, oh my God, what is she doing and where is she? I was trying to follow the score because I had to do all kind of electronic stuff. So at some point, I was still young. I said, Francis, sorry, but where are you? I don't know. And she said, oh, Piet-Jan, but I don't know myself.
Yeah,
So
rendezvous.
yeah, just if you hear me do pong, a low C, then I'm there and you can close the and you can do this, that kind of stuff. Yeah, but it's not like that anymore.
No.
Composers are
There's been a joke. So for all who grew up in Soviet Union and studied music, you remember David Oistrakh, the king of the violinists, and Sviatoslav Richter. And the two of them play a recital at the Carnegie Hall to the times when it was, you know, the mecca for the classical music. And they're so nervous, and they play together as whatever they played, Prokofiev Sonata. And Oistrakh suddenly asked, Slava, where are we? I lost you. And Richter answers very quietly, David, at the Carnegie Hall.
it's a good joke. Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. So, you know, we as a musician and artist, you work with contemporary music, and it's sometimes so hard to find the rendezvous. And as you spoke about, you know, oh, he's not making that, you know, like 45 mistakes per measure. And that's on your side. And there's the audience, which see, you know, contemporary piece. Let's keep that recital. We go for Schubert and Tchaikovsky. So, and somehow this issue has been solved. And in my opinion, I reviewed Ivan's recital that's been in May, and it was marvelous combination with Schubert and contemporary pieces and Ravel, and it was played wonderfully. And what made me really excited to, you know, to feature him is that he made Schubert and Ravel sounding contemporary and alive instead of making contemporary piece sounding old. So that fascinated me in that way. Ivan, how did you do that?
I don't know. Maybe what I like on my life that I don't see any more difference between old and new, like music. I do what I really like, and I like the connections between, let's say, old, like like Schubert and Bach or Ravel and the new pieces. So that's the first thing. The second thing, that we communicate as musicians or as a pianist with the sound. So I'm a lot thinking about how it should sound. And it doesn't matter if you think about piece by Piet-Jan or Ravel or Schubert, but to find a right sound that's this nice research, I will say, yes, because it depends on the piano, it depends on the concert hall, it depends how big hall it is, how to use or not to use the pedal in the moment. So and the third thing, maybe one of the most important is how to build a good program. Yeah, so it's not just mixture of everything, but it gives a sense to me, it gives sense to the audience, it has some story around. So that was also my idea about this recital. I was changing program like twice between before I really it was even like 1 month before the recital I decided to do a little change. So because it is for me like composition. While I don't know all the pieces and to play it, I try to find the right order, and before I think a lot why Schubert should be connected with Bergen or Ligeti in the second half. But basically I built up two stories. One was the first half for me was like a big sonata, which starting Berg sonata and the Schubert sonata, the A minor, the little one, and then the Ravel. So it's like going from the still new language of Alban Berg sonata to the small movement on Schubert and the fast movement on the Ravel. So it's like one big sonata was for me, and the second half was just basically about the 3+2+2, like the famous rhythm of Bartók, and Ligeti use it. So I play the Bulgarian dances and then Ligeti studies, and then Daniel Matej piece, which is in fact recycling music of Bela Bartók. So that was the idea behind the second half. So but it is really nice and long process how to build the program, and especially when connecting old and let's say new music. Yeah.
Amazing. And now I would like to ask Jenny and Ivan, both of you. So you work with contemporary piece, either Bartok, Piet-Jan, or any other contemporary composer. And then you have that challenge to bring this music, in Jenny's case, in a staging, and in yours, in a performance to the kids in the schools, within of all those education projects. How do you deal with that?
Well, again, it's very specific to the context, which is something that Ivan was talking about, I think, and Piet-Jan. What the context will tell you what's needed. Do you need to do more workshopping first, or do you to get everyone? Do you need to go introduce the project to get people enthused before you start? Do you need to send little practice tapes and little fun things that they can learn? There's a process. You need to get the teachers on board, so they're not just kind of sitting at the back going like this, but they're involved, and so on.
Jenny, could you imagine something like a project, for larger audience, I don't know, in the television and the radio with me here, to get all sort of people to get rid of this fear of the contemporary music away? What could be possibly done from your point of view?
Well, I feel like Ivan was describing a great process where you connect. I think it's really important to go where people are.
Mm-hmm.
So to find out where is someone with music, because then walk with them rather than say, I'm over here and what I'm doing is wonderful, come join me. To actually find out where they are and then go from there on and explore.
Yeah,
So
Piet-Jan, could you imagine something like in our collaboration, you write something like Muppet Show for Jenny's company and both of you goes to BBC
Mhm.
about the contemporary music Saturday 1 1 p.m. to 2 p.m., or what was it? Do you know the Sesame Street, something like that, which is funny, funny Muppets?
Mhm.
Speaking about contemporary music, something like that, because usually if you go with your partner to the concert, oh Jesus Christ, oh which fun, Rossum, oh no, no, I would like to go for sure, but to get rid of this reaction, just people to get them in, to get them familiar with stuff. What do you think?
yes, well, I suppose that's kind of what I may be suggesting.
Right. Exactly.
But what I want to add to this point, what is for me is very important, that I like your idea, Hannah. But what is very important in this, like trying out, for example, for a big audience, is this continuity. For example, I studied a lot of Leonard Bernstein educational concept from the Carnegie Hall, but it was a structure of, I don't know how many of them he did for a year. So if you have a Philharmonic Hall and you know that you will do 4 5 educational concerts for a year, that's something else than just to try it once. And this is big disadvantage, that sometimes we are pushed to do a big show for one time, like, okay, let's convince me, you have a one big shot, and if you don't do it, then, and from the certain point I stopped to do that. I don't like it. I don't like it anymore, because for one time, yeah, what to do a big show, it's not what we really want to achieve, and we will not make a big change. But where we could do a change is that when somebody gives a hall and really try for 2 3 years to give a 4 5 concerts, then we can start to talk about how to get a fear of the contemporary music. For example, we have a little cycle in Slovak radio, like 4 chamber music concerts for a year in a big hall, and we are trying to really, we are precisely thinking what to give, like in 4 concerts. So we have a Charles Ives program on one thing, yes, which is just the Ives songs, with when I talk about the Ives songs, and also prepare the audience what they should hear. But the second half is maybe just Bach concertos, not the second half, the second concert. So they have a structure of concerts that the food is balanced, for my audience in Slovak radio, for example, but you can have a beautiful audience which they like only new music, I mean, it's perfectly nice. So like Jenny said, it's really important to know your audience and who is coming, and plus the continuity, not just one big show. I don't believe in a big shows.
I think
Right.
that's wonderful, the idea of the continuity.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Very
really
good.
wonderful.
Yeah.
And the Muppets. Don't forget the Muppets.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's Piet-Jan. Yes, yes.
The Muppet is my part. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely, isn't it? That not a mess anymore, something not very depressing, but now the Muppet Show goes BBC live. For young and old, speaking about contemporary arts, for all of you three of you, what do you think? We have now the growing of the AI in all fields. How dangerous is it for your work, for each of yours? So, is it a threat or is it a blessing to grow further?
It's neither. So I think for us, in our particular field of music, it's almost neglectable, and I can say it because I'm the vice chairman of the supervisory board of the Buma Stemra, which is like a copyright. It's like a, help me, PRS in England. No,
Okay, yeah.
yeah, and so we're dealing with all this copyright stuff, and they're very afraid of artificial intelligence, and of course it's threatening pop music, and it's threatening especially advertisement music, etc., and that's easily more easily replaced. But if people ask me for a piece, they want a piece by Piet-Jan, and it's and I'm sure this is something that only I can make, and they are sure also. That's why they give the commission. So that's not. I don't see a big problem there. But what about you, Ivan and Jenny?
I am using ChatGPT each day, but
Ah,
not for practicing, but for management and
Yeah,
all
exactly.
the stuff. It's really big help, and it makes faster and better things. Of course, it's also about the GPT, that ChatGPT and all the AI that um, also as a teacher you very soon find out if it's chat or if it's their own thoughts. So again, it's about that how good input you put to the chat GPT and how you work with further, that not it will not make work for us, but it is I'm really very enthusiastic about this, and again, it's a help, but it's not a point, it's not a.
I use it for management, like for example, fundraising,
Mm.
yeah. Okay.
things like that, where, and then it does a lot of work and then I tweak it.
Exactly.
That saves a lot of time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it
So
saves
it's
time.
not that bad as actually imagined. And now we are moving towards the ending bit. So I would like you, each of you, to ask one another a question of your preference.
No, actually, I want to say something. I really want to say something about AI and the fact. Something I really believe in is and it also is connecting to what Jenny said about I am here and the audience is here and we ask them to come to us. I think the whole thing now at this moment is the fact that we are human beings and we have a soul, and, and this soul communicates with the soul of the other human being. So if I do my work well as a composer, I make a piece which is it's usually huge pieces, so people can somehow get into another mode and dive into themselves. If I, as a composer, or my music reaches this small core inside uh, the listener, the core they never want to touch because they're afraid to even look at it. The fact, the thing that's really vulnerable in us as human beings, this core can only be moved by us as composers, as musicians, as as human being to human being. That's really important, and AI will never do that for sure. And so that's also why I'm not so concerned about this. And I think, and then if you're reaching uh, your audience core to core, then it doesn't matter anymore if they're far away or not, because somehow suddenly you're close to each other. And the music can also be quite hard. It doesn't have to be the Muppet Show. It's I mean it's uh, I can say it with because I've seen it happen. Huge pieces, 30, 40 minutes for how do you say this? Audiences that are totally not experienced. Um, and I was sweating like hell. Like, oh gosh, they're gonna whistle and walk away and whatever. But then something bang happens. These musicians, they make the music, people get silent and they understand that something real is happening on the stage. And these, all these, what do you call them, liedjermen or the leken we say in Dutch, they were really silent and they were, I don't think maybe they didn't understand what was really going on, but they understood something. Uh, how would I say this? Not truth, but
The
something.
essence, probably the
Yeah,
essence.
something that really made sense, and that's worth uh, inve- uh, worth paying attention to. And
I agree completely, and what I believe that I learned it from my teacher Dan van der Walle when we talk about the mistakes, or we play a lot of notes and you miss something. And when I was studying in Belgium, and he just talked to me, the audience just want to see the guy which trust what he is doing.
yeah,
And he was right at what Piet-Jan is just saying, that I have also a lot of this experience, that you just do your stuff which you believe in, and suddenly audience believes in it also. So that's why it's so important that the performer does the music which he really loves to do, and he trusts the music, even it's Bach or it's contemporary or whatever. So yeah, you are right.
that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
I have a question, since you asked about us to produce a question. I have a question for Ivan and Piet-Jan. How do you feel about the term classical music as applied to music that's being written now?
Yeah.
Because it's juxtaposed to popular music, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, there was some time I refused to use the term classical music. I refused, but then
You don't
again,
get forced.
modern music is, yeah, it's very, very hard to put a etiquette on it.
Label on it, yeah.
Yeah, what a label, yeah.
Actually,
What
Jenny, with her question, made the final answer to several questions of mine. When I certainly asked, what can we possibly do to make the music more alive? Exactly that, to stop labeling it as the classical music and putting it somewhere to the mausoleum and bring it back and, dissolve all those bridges.
But you're answering it now, yeah? We should call it living music.
Oh,
Living
yeah.
music. Mm-hmm.
But then we have to accept that that actually includes all the music that we're making.
Every all good music played by good musicians is live, as long as it communicates to the audience. Yeah. Yes.
Piet-Jan, who decides what is good music and what isn't?
Oh,
Um, yeah, I guess everyone for himself, no?
Yeah, yes, but so we speak here about making it happening on the stage in the hall to make people pay for that, and then we have this discussion with kids and students and other people. Do you like this music? Oh no, darling, that's absolutely awful. Stop listening to that. Or you say, it's really fascinating. It has to be, promoted and paid for, and so where if we go back to the education, how can we possibly navigate from good to bad, from bad to good, if we want to stop labeling it?
okay. So maybe we stop labeling it, but we know that if it's living music, we're constantly getting people to hear more detail, hear more layers, hear more colors, hear more, wasn't it, that a tritone was called the devil's interval for, for till,
Tritones. Ja, voor tritones.
right? Until eventually it became something that one could hear, one could live with, etc. So presumably this living music has to keep on growing and shifting and changing and bringing more colors to people's ears.
The,
That's an educational thing. Actually, your your oral preconceptions, along with other preconceptions being shifted.
so I hope so much that we can lose the preconceptions and win the determination to be excited about the music and to go to the Barfoot Opera and to listen to Piet-Jan's music and to go to and hear Ivan's recordings and several others which are amazing. And sadly, I'm very, very sad that I have to say that we are at the end of the podcast, but I would like to continue the conversation with all three of you. And I hope that you enjoyed it and that you kind of, stay in touch with one another, because I think you can, it might be fun for all of you to collaborate later. So from my point of view as a journalist and to having this platform, you know, I think the education is something what is like food, like a part of our being. And I think the most important thing is to maintain the ability to talk to one another and to maintain the conversation also in the wider ranges with the audience, with the readers, with subscribers, in order not to lose ourselves in fake news and strange things all over the social media, you know, and like build a small camps for and against, and
Yeah.
with someone against them and with them against the others. So from my point of view, thank you so much. I can't wait to follow up your work. I can't wait to welcome you one more time here, and have a nice time ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lovely
Thank
meeting
you.
you.
It was
Really
really
lovely.
nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Have a nice time.
Thank you.
Bye.
To death, let me freeze again. To death.